Let's look at a couple questions about bringing personalized learning into our school district. The first question is, what do school districts need to focus on when implementing personalized learning strategies? These are some of the design elements that we need to think about, including environment, intervention, supporting student needs, student grouping, curriculum, quality teaching, goal setting and tracking, and formative assessment. Also, this infographic from the Bill and Melanie Gates Foundation I think is awesome because it ties in kind of these four elements when we're talking about personalized learning, from competency-based progression, thinking about your environment in a more flexible learning style, personalized learning paths, and learner profiles. And this is something that we need to think about, all of these things, as going throughout the year and having your kids be successful in the learning that is taking place in a personalized learning environment. How are your teachers going to be able to personalize instruction when they need to make sure they have to meet the state or local standards? For example, standardized tests. This was a huge question when we went into personalized learning, and we took that on as one of our goals and our vision at our school, because we still had to allow time for the standards that we were hitting. But just like anything else, we were doing things differently. And so we were very creative. We worked together as a team. They, of course, had a very supportive teacher librarian, and that was a big part of my job, was the collaboration that took place. We also hired instructional strategists, or maybe some of our teachers went into that role where we would have an instructional strategist for maybe one or two or even sometimes 3 grades that would work specifically with our teachers on coaching and tying in things to the curriculum that was different, if it was technology, whatever it might be, that was something that, when we were trying to move things and change things the way that we were teaching, but also to work with our kids. And I love this, again, looking back at this graph, and not only our infographic, not only thinking about our kids when it came to our kids maybe that were lower that needed help, but all of our kids. How would we also, take those high kids and move them to that next level, really emphasizing their strengths and the strengths and the needs and the wants of all of our kids. And so when we looked at that and we wanted to personalize it, all of these things came into play because we needed to make the time to change things. We needed to make the time for our individual students and for the things that we had to tie in, and also be appreciative of the teachers' time too, and give them the support that they needed to make this happen. How do teachers build the capacity to implement personalized learning in their classroom, and how do schools do this? Well, this is something I think that looking at my school, that we had a few things that we did to really make it flourish within our school district. And one thing that we did, I'll just kind of put this into kind of 3 big ideas. We brought technology into our classrooms. We also provided a lot of professional development for our teachers and training. And 3, we looked at and we renovated our library and our classrooms to really encourage that flexible learning environment. And so when we go back to kind of the beginning of that, and we talk about bringing technologies into our classroom, we believe in the power of bringing student voice alive in the classroom. And we wanted to move away from a traditional approach of just paper and pen. And so that first thing that we did was we went one-to-one at our school. And we not only really changed the way that we were learning within our school, but we wanted to connect them globally to the world, because we wanted them to be able to publish online and be able to not only research, but connect with experts around the world and other classrooms and hear their experiences. And it was awesome because we not only had the technology, but we used a lot of different tools. Tools like Padlet and tools like Buncee and Edmodo and Google Classroom, and all these tools that were going to make this possible, not only on the collaborating and connecting, but for our kids to be able to create, for them to be able to tell their story differently, to show what they were learning in a different way. So we could not only motivate them to, really show us and to be motivated about the learning, but to also show us and to be able to assess these kids too in a different way as well. The next thing is just building capacity for our teachers. And like I said, we had to get training for our teachers and we had to have support too. And so we did lots of training, and that was a big part of my job as the teacher librarian, was to be able to support them in the different tools that we were using and how we were going to use the technology, and then how we were going to actually teach our kids in that personalized style. And we did this through our instructional strategists, or our coaches that our teachers had. And so by putting them into groups and having PLCs, our personal learning communities for our teacher, we put a lot more PD into also our school. We now get out of school every Friday at 1:30, and that time at the end of Fridays, that 2 hours is spent specifically for teacher training and teaching support, and those teachers working together. Because when you emphasize PBL and you bring PBL and personalized learning into your building, you need a lot more time for collaboration and for planning and just having time to really be creative and think about how you're going to embed that into your school. And so that training that they got and that we all got for learning different strategies was really important for all of our subject levels and all of our grade levels K-12. And the last thing is, one thing how we built capacity was just by renovating and thinking about our library and our classrooms. And we needed more flexibility because we knew, that when you think about it, not only having your kids connect outside of the four walls, but we wanted them to be able to move around and not have to sit at a chair for hours at a time in a desk. We needed them to be able to collaborate across grade levels and across classrooms and move around the hallways and move around where they needed to and find the materials and the things that they wanted to, and even talk to the teachers, because as teachers, we're all experts in something that may be a little different from the teacher down the hallway. And we wanted our kids to be able to learn, not only, like, say you're in fourth grade, not only with that fourth grade teacher, but maybe you have a real passion for chemistry, to be able to learn then with that chemistry teacher too. And so we thought about that, our flexible spaces. And now it's great because Van Meter is all renovated, and it's such a cool environment to see these things happening. And like, for example, in January, we have these specific times throughout the year. And in January, we have 2 weeks where all the kids K-12 do a passion project or a huge PBL project where they're figuring out what they want to do, what their learning is, what their goal is. And it's just so fun to see these kids come up and develop this plan, and the learning that takes place and the memory of what they're learning and the experience that they have, not only for our kids, but for our teachers and our families and our community, is amazing. And I've never seen anything like this before. And so I really like to think about that on how, and these are just 3 of the ways, but how we can really build that capacity when we're implementing personalized learning too. Now here's a question for you, and this is something that I think about too all the time, is the challenges that we face. And when we're talking about personalized learning, and you've heard lots of things today from me and from also Ida, about personalized learning, about her experiences, about my experiences as a teacher. And these are challenges, though, that we can overcome. And when we went down this road at my school, becoming transparent as a community and talking through these and putting it on the table and involving kids too in the conversation was something that really made us feel like we were equipped to take on, not really the challenges, but take on this new way of learning, how we were going to do things differently. And so I challenge you today to think about that question too.